Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have had faith in us since day one. So thank you, Folgers. We wouldn't do it without you, nor could we? Anyway, also big thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, for his contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram, does great commission pieces, and he pretty much do anything you need him to do. So thank you, Steve McGinnis. Now tonight, very special guest, really looking forward to this one, is Nicole Majik. And she had an encounter which basically led her or sparked, let's say, a profound desire within her to assist people in reshaping their connections with themselves and helping them achieve their dreams and goals, and very extraordinary occurrences. And we're going to get into all of that. So interesting story, to say the least, and very bubbly. So not bubbly as my bubbly, but
nobody can be that bubbly.
Yeah, nobody can be as bubbly as our bubbly, but bubbly should definitely be in good company. So,
well, somebody made me cry today.
Oh, what?
Oh, hi,
Adam.
No, it's Hamilton. He sent me that book, The Bubbles of Canada.
Oh,
I got it today, and I was crying like a baby. I'm like, oh my God, like he's just
very thoughtful.
Deserve it. Oh, wow. I don't deserve it.
Aww.
I don't deserve it. But yeah, it was just so shocking. And it's funny because he sent me a picture of him wearing his new scarf that he asked for.
Right.
And he's wearing it and he goes, look, it's really cold and I'm still
wearing it. Yeah, I think it's snowing out there or something crazy.
Like,
I know.
Oh my God, there is no one like Hamilton White. We just adore him so much. And he's so good to us. He spoils us. But yeah we love him.
Yeah, he's wonderful. Wonderful.
And again, get
he's
to
what you call a good human.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And they're hard to recognize because we don't have many around.
No.
So he's one of those, very unique individuals who are just so kind-hearted and loves animals.
Yes.
And I just, wow. Very shocked. And Wayne's card. I look forward to the Christmas card from Wayne every year. I can't wait till he receives mine.
Oh gosh. The games begin.
My family was laughing. My daughter giggles like Betty Rubble, and it was coming from her gut, right? Like she's looking at it.
He's creative. I'll give him that.
John, who doesn't laugh at anything, was on the floor.
I know. He's creative.
Oh, that was hilarious.
I know.
Oh.
At least he does it in a way where you can see it. We've had friends that he sent cards to, and with Dave and Victoria Benison, he puts in the big Death Star in the back up at the top of the moon, and all kinds of like little flying, they're little, what do you call those, X-wing thingies, and they didn't even notice it. They're like, what? Because how do you not notice this big?
I don't miss anything on his.
I
know. I look for things because I know that he gets intricate and draws and does things that are so different.
He does. He takes a lot of time and personalizes everything.
I think he's gonna like mine this year.
For the what?
He's gonna like my card this year.
Oh, you guys. It's very
Oh,
funny.
he's gonna love it. I did it very Wayne-esque.
We are just waiting for our guests to come in. So just a reminder to everybody that we do have 7 chat rooms, and we will do our very best to bring up comments or questions. It may not be right away, maybe, once she's moving along. We do try to stay at her pace, or at all of our guests' pace. So, we always try to get to them. So chime in, because your questions and comments are very important to us, and just like save them all until Q&A on the 28th. Yes, heads up. 28th. It's going to be.
That's coming up fast.
I know.
Oh my goodness!
It's like almost
11 days from today.
How'd that happen?
You didn't see my post. I posted a candle that's got legs and an arm, and it's burning at both ends. It's lighting its butt on fire, because that's how I feel with 11 days to go. It's like every day just goes right by you, and it's like, oh my God.
Bubbles, my whole life is a blur. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Your life has been a blur.
I know. We're just going to leave it right there. So anyway.
I don't even remember this year.
I don't want to remember this year.
It was too traumatic. But yeah.
Too busy.
It's been like that for the last 5 years. Isn't that insane?
Well, with that being said, while we're just being a whole big old bundle of fun,
let's get
our
the
guest
bubbles
has arrived. So here she is.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, Nicole.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
Come
How
right
are
into
you?
the buzzkill part of the
Yeah,
intro.
sorry. Just reflecting at how quickly Christmas is coming, and we know it comes every year. It's stupid, but it's like all of a sudden you wake up and you have a week, and it's like, what?
I know. It's like it's August, like Michelle said, and then all of a sudden it's December.
It's December. Well, I'm done Christmas shopping in October.
Christmas in August.
I'm usually Christmas shopping. I'm done before Halloween. I just don't.
You put up a Christmas decoration before Halloween. I am just
no. My daughter does. My daughter puts up her own tree in her office, but me, no. It doesn't come up until way after Remembrance Day. So.
Wow.
Well, when you have that big tree that John, my poor husband, puts the ornaments around 15 feet all the way around, you need to look at it for a little while. You can't just have it up for a week. It's kind of depressing because it takes so long to put it together.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm good.
But I love Christmas. It's my favorite time of year. I'm hoping I see my niece's kids this year, because it's all about the babies. For Christmas, it's all about the babies for me.
Into the family any day.
Oh, that's exciting. That is so exciting. I love babies. Oh my gosh.
I'm having baby withdrawals.
Smell so good. Yes.
Okay, on with the show. This is baby talking.
Love babies. Yeah.
Oh, Nicole, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
I'm doing well, thanks. I've been making cookies forever.
There you go. See, another mom prepping for Christmas. I haven't baked yet. Ugh.
Wayne's been baking. I don't bake.
Yeah.
I don't
have you been freezing them,
my
Nicole?
Body, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Have you been freezing, or
started
are you
making them yesterday and today? So I have one more day of making them, and then they will get parsed out, frozen until they're handed off.
Those are the best ones, the ones you can freeze. You're a good person. I wish I lived closer. I'd do an exchange with you.
Here we go.
Yeah. Tamara baked cookies. They're all gone. That's kind of like my house. Anyway.
I choose not to bake.
Oh, I have a friend that comes over when I'm doing tarts, like little lemon tossies, and she'll eat them as I'm filling them. I'm like, excuse me. Oh, your mic's off. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I had a little background noise, so I was
that's okay.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, at least we're not having tech issues, because we have a very big network, and with everybody on it and all the servers, and people were just having a hard time even starting their shows over the last couple of days. So I'm like, are we in Mercury retrograde, or is just like CME's bombing us? It's got to be something, because I don't think we have this kind of trouble usually.
They said there's been a lot of solar flares, but sometimes I'll joke, or maybe I'm not so joking, with the AI takeover.
That's a whole other show, isn't it?
Yep.
So wait, let me go put us on private mode on YouTube.
That's scary.
So I'm really thrilled that you were here, and my friend Michelle, of course, highly recommended you. So I'm like, we're going to do this. So where I'd like to start with you is, what was your life like before your NDE? And then you can bring us up to speed.
All right.
With the NDE. How about that?
Yeah, sure.
Stage is yours.
Fun. That's so much fun.
Yay.
My life before my NDE.
Yes.
Well, way before my NDE, when I was young, I was very intuitive and I could see auras, spirits, and energy and all of that stuff. But I also lived in a very religious household, so my gifts were looked at a little differently than everybody else's gifts, I guess you could say. And if we fast forward up to a little bit before the NDE, I had just had my third son. My cat Tony's coming in.
We like the critters. That's okay.
That's okay. Don't worry. We both have dogs. Yeah.
I had postpartum depression that I didn't know I had. So this is a real thing that you don't think that you would not notice it, but when you're in it and you just kind of slide down that slope, you don't realize it at all. And no one else around me realized it either.
Wow.
So really it was sliding into more and more and more of a depression state where I was fantasizing about death every moment of every day, pretty much.
Wow.
I would look at how many ways I could die or take myself out.
That's pretty hardcore. That's pretty deep down.
Postpartum depression is very serious, and it's taken way too lightly.
Cat takes over completely. Get out of my way. Give me the mic.
He's like trying to take over the mic. It's like, dude, get out of here.
It's like cats do.
It's okay.
They think they're still ruling the world. So yeah, that's really hardcore. That's pretty deep into a depression.
Yeah. So by then I had 3 kids, 3 boys at that point, and so I'd fantasize about whatever death I was fantasizing at that moment, and then I had trained myself to immediately go into, well, these 3 kids need you. So you can't do anything. These 3 kids need you. So my mantra became, just hold on a little longer. And that's all I would say. Do the fantasy, just hold on a little longer, just a little longer, just a little longer. And that's what got me through every day for probably about a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My niece had that. That's scary.
Yeah, no kidding. So I was such the opposite. I would break into tears at the mere thought of passing before my children. My children are all grown adults. I'm like, don't let me go. Still, I can't do it. So I feel for anybody. I feel for you going through this. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it just seemed like everything was wrong in my life.
Yeah.
And then I was just working really hard to live a life that wasn't even enjoyable. That's what it felt like.
So you existing. You weren't really a participant in your own life.
Yeah, I felt like I was barely existing. And my bare existence was for making everybody else's life easier.
Right.
Yeah.
That's being a mom.
Yeah.
Still. Yes.
Yeah. Not really even kids. It was just like everybody else wanted something. Right.
Yes.
And it was just very wearing, taxing.
You feel like you're there for everyone, but who's here for me kind of thing.
It was a very lonely place.
It is a lonely place. As you think about it, if you weren't around, who would be taking care of your babies like you do? So yeah, it's a fear.
Yeah,
but I'm glad you pulled through it.
Me too.
Yeah,
because now you're here with us.
Lucky you. No,
I know. Shut up, Bubbles.
Lucky you guys.
Yeah, I'm comedy relief. I'm comedy relief. I'll be the first one to put myself down. Don't worry.
So take us from that point then. Just move us along. take us into your NDE.
Sure. It was March 3rd of 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2 days before my second son's 4th birthday. And I worked in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I was a chemist, and I usually went in early and got out early so I could beat the rush hour traffic because I lived an hour away.
Wow.
And that was part of my setup for accepting that job anyway. On this particular day, I got out of work an hour late, so I was hitting full on rush hour traffic. And I remembered traveling down the Massachusetts Turnpike, and we were going maybe about 30 miles an hour. That was the high speed lane.
Oh,
And
I know that story.
Yeah, you know that feeling when there's just something in the air and it feels that like static electricity, almost like before a storm, if you're sensitive to storms, or just something that feels a little off or weird or surreal. And that's how this moment felt, was just driving along, and it was a bummer because all the traffic. The plus side of things was Tool Stinkfist was playing on the radio, so I just cranked that up and said, well, at least I have, a good amount of minutes to enjoy this. And then there was this car that was down in the ditch, and it was smoking, and there was another car or two that was stopped trying to maybe help, but just staring at everything, and everybody else was staring at this car.
Normal.
And I always know that you don't stare for too long, so you don't even have time to stare, because another accident can happen when you're looking at something else in an instant, because the way that people drive these days.
You're distracted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it just takes one person to tap their brakes and then forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking straight forward, and then I felt like my head was turned over to my left side, and everything went in slow motion at that point. And it was like, and then it seemed like frame by frame, although everything in my head was on warp drive. So I was collecting all kinds of data, and everything was happening in slow motion. And I saw this car on the other side of the Jersey barrier with this woman. She was swaying from impact. I noticed that she had her car door smashed in. And as she's swaying from the impact, her beautiful black curly hair was covering her face. And I could see the highlights of the reflection of the light coming off of her hair, and just little tiny minute details that you would never notice driving in opposite directions and all this stuff. And I had these whole conversations in my head, like, oh my gosh, why is her door smashed in? And look at her beautiful hair, and look at these highlights, and oh, that's a nice caramel color. And I wish I could see her face. And what happened to this other car? Where's this other car that smashed her? And what is going on? And then my face was directed through my windshield to look through there. And I saw this other car. The guy that hit her went up over the Jersey barrier and was about to land in my lap, right where my steering wheel was. That was a crazy moment, because I'm looking at him and his face is all contorted because he is screaming and thinking and reliving that and looking back at the replay in my head. He knew he was going to die. And he was just terrified. And our eyes met for this split second. And I saw what was happening and what was going to happen to me. That he was going to land on my car. His car was going to roll over on top of my car. That was going to squish the roof of my car down on my head, snap my neck, and I'm dead. And that played out. And when I saw that vision, I screamed and ducked down as low as I could go, because a reaction. It was just a reaction.
Yeah, you know it was coming at you.
Yeah, and that was, I say I screamed like a little schoolgirl, you know, like
Sure.
and just ducking down as far as I could go. And I just remember at that point, it was like my consciousness lifted out and I was separated from my body. And I went into this realm where I met with my immediate family, the people that were closest to me. So basically my kids, my husband at the time, my parents. And it was like I sat down and had an entire conversation with them, how much I love them, how much I'll miss them, all of the things, that everything's going to be okay. And after the last person, I just had this sensation of, okay, I'm ready. And that's when this extreme peace and love and divine presence was just wrapping, enveloping me up. And everything went black. And at that moment, I know it's kind of like a lot of people say this light, everything just kind of went black. And
That's
then
scary.
then it felt like right through the tunnel. Rapid rate right through this tunnel of whatever. And I likened it to, you know, when you pull back that pinball machine, I might be dating myself. Pull back that pinball machine, that little
Zing.
the lever, and then it just shoots that ball. And that was me just shooting through this tube. And then all of a sudden I came to. And when I came to, I was gasping for air because it was that moment right before you would die if you were held underwater. And then somebody would pull you up and say, breathe. And I just went,
it happened to me. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. You do.
Yeah,
you
for
know
sure.
Exactly. And it was this gasp. And I'm, white knuckling my steering wheel. And it was a jolt of, okay, you're conscious again in this body. And I just came to after that gasp and said, oh my God, I almost just died. And I was saying it out loud. And I look in front of me and there's no cars in front of me. And now I'm getting confused but I'm still like letting out the stuff that was in my head. Oh my God, I almost just died, as I'm looking in my rearview mirror, seeing nobody behind me. And then I looked across on the other side of the highway, again, reminding you, this is rush hour traffic on a Massachusetts Turnpike. And I see nobody on the other side. And I said, oh my God, am I dead? And then I see this one lone car like puttering up the other side of the highway. And I go, oh God, am I dead? And if I'm dead, then which side of that highway am I actually on? And I was like, maybe I should turn on the radio and see if AC/DC is
playing.
on.
I'm having a little Nikki moment. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you didn't hear anything either.
No, I wasn't hearing anything. Like there was nothing. I did recognize where I was because I was going under a bridge that was in a certain town, which gave me a marker. Because when I went back and I looked at where I ended up, because I wasn't in the same spot that this happened at.
Yeah.
And I was over 2.5 miles away.
Wow.
And I was just like,
I love Massachusetts. I frequent it.
So what the hell?
Yeah.
And, what does one do when one doesn't know what to do?
Right.
We call mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had called my mom at that point. And all the moms will love this, you just call mom. But my mom, because my whole family is very intuitive, and my mom answered the phone and she just went off. oh my God, Nikki, are you okay? I was just praying for you. Are you okay? Because I usually pray for you in the morning because that's when I do all my prayers. And she's just like, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, mom, like,
Like,
Stewie,
Ma.
mom,
Yeah, stop
Lois,
it.
mama.
Right.
And I'm like, Mom, can you just shut up for a minute? Am I dead? And she's like, what? No, you're not dead. You're talking to me on the phone. What are you talking about? And I told her what happened. And she said, you rode angel wings. Oh my God. And I was
that's
just
sweet.
I rode something. I said it seemed more like a wormhole than angel wings, but whatever it was, I rode through something.
Right. Right. So that's a real curiosity though, like to kind of get tossed back in your body, like, here you go, make it work. And I think I'd be trying to figure out, like, okay, first off, does my body still work? Like,
Right.
like, was your car smashed or were you okay? Like, it just missed you? Or, I mean, if you had
Everything was in full working order.
so did they pull you before the impact, or did they pull you and you got missed and went oops and threw you back in, hope nobody would notice? Like, how did the whole thing unfold? Like, how were you after?
Yeah, so there was a lot of things that happened afterwards, but I'll skip all that stuff for now and answer your question because there were a lot of things that were unanswered. So I went through different phases of wondering all that, like what happened. I could not wrap my head around it.
Right.
The 3D mind just goes a little bonkers trying to figure it out.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, just the 2.5 miles away and no cars on the highway during rush hour traffic was crazy, because let's say I was projected forward and maybe there would be no cars behind me because the cars would be blocked off, but there should be cars in front with all the other exits that are coming onto the highway.
Right.
And
you
there
knew you weren't
shouldn't
in
be anything on
anymore.
there shouldn't be anything disrupting the other side either. So it was just so bizarre.
Felt like you were in another dimension.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to mention is fast forwarding to after putting some pieces together, having some synchronicities that, filled in some gaps. I realized that I died in that other dimension and I was projected, the consciousness was projected into another dimension that had another me in it. And I was to utilize the information that I had and the experience that I had and all the downloads that they gave me, whoever they are, into this life to proceed forward. Because as a scientist, right, scientific fact is energy is neither created nor destroyed. So it's got to be transferred, transmuted, transformed, whatever the case. So what ended up happening? I died in that other realm, in the other dimension. I asked for it. I wanted it. I wanted out. So I manifested that.
You did.
And and then it was, but you're also not finished yet. And you have valuable information here. And maybe, there was this, I had to experience this to put some things together that make a lot of sense with a lot of the work that I do now too.
Well, I think maybe perhaps to make you more appreciative of light, to cherish it a little bit more, to show you how fragile it actually is.
Yes, because that, Michelle, thank you for saying that, is after that moment, I had such a fervor and love for life. That whole depression, it was wiped clear.
That's good.
That love vibration is super healing. And that's really like bringing people into that love vibration. That's part of an experience that I help people get into because of the healing properties of it. And that's what causes miraculous healing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. That feeling, people, when they have NDEs and they experience that light of love, all say the same thing. It's like nothing else mattered. And they come back with such a different.
She's talking from experience. Yeah.
I've had a few, but like from a different perspective, but
absolutely.
mine were all medical, which is bizarre. They were all because of doctors' negligence. But anyways,
that's interesting.
yeah, but we're here for you. So tell us what happened when you finally came through and you realized what just missed you.
Yeah, when I just kind of spent the rest of that ride home in this awe and just feeling so different and trying to wrap my head around it, that I think I was in more of a trance-like state all the way home. But when I got home, my second son usually was the one who greeted me at the door or shortly after I came in, and he greeted me at the door, and I just grabbed that kid 2 days before his 4th birthday, picked him up, and I'm like, I love you. I love you. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. And I had to make sure I wasn't squeezing him to death like a boa constrictor. But it was really awesome. And it was weird at the same time because I felt so different.
Oh, yeah.
And then weird things started happening in the sense of like real cool, weird, but the visions were so amplified. The healing abilities and facilitation were so amplified. And I was freaking myself out with stuff, things that I didn't know before that I saw visions of or knew or heard in my head, and then realized that this is actually a thing. Thank God for the internet, because it confirmed a lot of things after. I'm like, what is that? And why am I seeing it? And then I'd look something up, and also thank God for, and the goddess maybe, for, autocorrect, because, trying to, sound some things out, autocorrect is like, oh, that's the word. Okay, that's it. That is totally it. So I knew a lot of things. I could see a lot of things. I predicted so many things, and it was just wild. In the meantime, there were these other very confusing and conflicting things because of the trying to wrap the head around something that's interdimensional, where my kids would ask me, hey, Mom, do you remember this? And they'll spout out some memory, and I don't remember it like that.
Oh.
At all.
Right.
Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think
because you're in a happier place, maybe.
I think it's because when you jump from one dimension to another, there's different scenarios that play out in the different dimensions. Most things are very similar, but not everything's going to be exactly the same. And that's why it's a different dimension, because it's playing out a different reality.
Right.
Right. It's creating a new reality different from that. But I don't think that we can hop from one dimension to another that's going to be so drastic. Like if I came into a dimension and I lived somewhere like in Alaska with a completely different family or whatever, that would make me go crazy.
Right. So it keeps it similar, just a different outplay, basically.
Yes. So it was like there were even things in the house that I remembered in a different place, a slightly different place, or a different room, or things that were there or weren't there that were vice versa in the other place. And
that's interesting.
And then it was like, that was never there, or we never had one of those, or, it was always in that spot. And I'm thinking, no, it wasn't.
It makes you wonder how many people jump and maybe this happens to, and they spend their life just thinking, I have a bad memory. I can't remember that. Did we have that? Was that over there?
It could be the trauma.
Did somebody move it? No, but seriously, like how many people, like, I mean, I've done it, but I'm pretty attentive to detail. So, but that's a curiosity for sure. Do you find, like, were you ever, once you became aware that you jumped, did you ever try to go back?
Once I became aware that I jumped, do I ever try to go back? I go back in the sense of this, which is I'm glad you asked this question, because this is something that a friend of mine had asked, how do you explain that I can still, feel my parents' presence, right?
Right.
Who passed away. And I'm like, and immediately I was like, oh, that's easy. Because if you transfer your consciousness into another dimension, here's what happens. I'm like, that's so easy, because I know I know that there's this energy and transference and this reality, and I know that I jumped from one dimension to another. So I can think about my kids and send them love and affection and messages, whatever I want, like, I'm always with you, and I love you, and I'm okay, everything is good, and you're doing such a great job, or whatever I want to say.
So you're not bound, but you're bound by space, but not so much time.
Right, because if time doesn't exist, I'm still talking to any stage and age of those kids that don't have a mom. So they're receiving messages from me just by me thinking that.
So they're thinking they're getting message from their deceased mother.
Yes, because
interesting. It's like
they kind of are.
Yeah, dimensional bleed through. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're also here, and I'm living with them here in this reality, and what they've created here on their own as well, because 3 of them are now adults.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Let me pose this to you. So your kids lose a mom in the other dimension. You pop into this dimension. What happened to the mom in this dimension that you just stepped into her life?
I was going, we are thinking the same thing.
Right?
I'm like, well, what happens to your physicality here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great question too. And my belief is that the consciousness merged, because I have memories of this dimension and that dimension. So which ones are my memories?
Right.
All of them, right?
And which one are hers?
And whatever ones that are pertaining to what I'm doing here, I think are the ones that went out, because there are some things that I'm like, do I remember that like this? Or it seems fuzzy, because I think that's the instances where there may be 2 memories that are colliding.
Yeah, very, very possible. It's like they say. It's funny because here they'll say, well, you don't want to see a doppelganger. You can't cross. You have this butterfly effect. You have to be very, very careful. So, which is why they'll say, when you jump, there are people who jump who can never get back. They do it and they're sleeping. They have no bloody clue what's happened. It wasn't something traumatic that popped them out of that dimension. It was just waking up the next morning in a different pair of pajamas in what looks like your space, but nobody is there anymore. There's a woman who actually right now has a reward out for anybody that can help her get back, because her fiance, his family of 7 years, nobody exists in her time. And she's like, I need to get back. I don't even know how I got here. I woke up and so how many people is this happening to? I mean, we know people. I know people who have walked around a house. They hear voices. It's just like they're someplace different. And they know enough to walk back around in the counterclockwise and come back into their space. And they have their family going, where have you been? We've been looking for you for 2 hours. It's like kids like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell I was. So
that's crazy.
I know. So,
that's a tough one.
Because
then you go into the whole thing of time traveling and all this other stuff too. You don't know what's what.
But when you say, you're merging, that's very interesting to me, because of the whole butterfly effect, the whole stepping into somebody else's space, becoming one, and altering life, because you still have a belief system you came in with. You have a whole set of memories and belief system that you came in with that may differ from the individual that you've stepped in with.
And I also think that in saying that and hearing you say that, the different belief system, I think that with that transfer, whatever downloads happened and whatever needed to be rearranged, right? Because I was super depressed too. Why would anybody like put you in a place if you're super depressed into this? So that was healed. So I think that whatever needed to be erased was erased. Whatever needed to be healed was healed. Whatever needed to be downloaded was downloaded into these little packets, and whatever needed to be upgraded was upgraded.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. And then it was like, okay, here, it's like inserting a piece of programming into an intelligence.
It's
Really,
like your
that's all it
programming
is.
got tweaked to be able to to begin again.
Just like we upgrade our computers. Here's like a little upgrade packet. Here's a piece of information that we're merging into what you already have.
Right. Yes. That, it just kind of leads you around a little bit. But here's an interesting comment, Amelia, if you can get this.
Absolutely. Hi, Tamara. Tamara asks how many people have had Mandela effect, that's dimensional bleed through. It's a very good question.
Good one, Tamara. Yeah. I mean, Mandela effect, you think that Berenstein Bears, for example, but that you get those little blips that it is just perhaps dimensional bleed through.
It's frustrating for me.
I always thought the Monopoly guy had the monocle.
He did.
Right. I know.
What do you mean he doesn't have it? I'm going to check all those damn game boards because we collect them. I'm going to check them. That's really upsetting. Being a Gen Xer, like I go look back and everything's changed. I'm like, wait a second. This is no.
He doesn't have it.
How do all of us remember it a certain way, though?
So who's shifting?
Right. But our whole generation.
Are you shifting as a whole, or are you, because we do, this planet, this universe, we do go through major shifts.
But did our whole generation shift? All Gen Xers see things the same way. The Monopoly, monocle, I don't know what generation. You are younger. You know what I mean? Okay, Alex. Go into a dimensional bleed through and you'll have it again. I think you look great without hair, my friend. But anyways, he's a friend of both of ours.
Nice.
Talk to him that way. But yeah, I wonder, because the whole Gen X generation will tell you all the stuff that's changed. Like, well, we can list it for you. And it's insanity.
But the whole bleed through thing to me is fascinating, thinking that we're getting messages from loved ones, ghosts, spirits, things of that nature. And meanwhile, like you say, you are sending out those messages to your loved ones, to your children. And there's, gifted little beings who are going, oh yeah, we hear mom. So
so I actually consciously do that periodically just because.
Yes. Yes. I know. And yet you have this whole other life.
Yeah.
Do you long to go back?
No.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
No. You were in such a desolate place. It must have been tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a couple of other near-death experiences since that time.
Oh, so please elaborate.
Okay.
No, feel free. Stage is yours. So wherever you want to take it, Nicole.
Yeah, we can talk about some of that stuff. Some of that stuff it's fun because it's like, I feel like once you have a near-death experience, it's so much easier to have them, whatever that case is. And the other two of mine, Amelia, I was kind of chuckling when you were talking about like the health related or medical related. Both of mine were during surgeries. Those other two.
Crazy.
Yeah. So one of them, and I see Michelle's got the little alien in the back over there. So you love this one. Is this one's
we'll get to that question. Don't you worry.
This one's short and sweet. Where I had fourth child, a girl. I knew with the third child. So after my NDE, I knew I was going to have another child, and it was going to be a girl. So I had 3 boys, and I heard one day, you'll have one more, because I was talking about getting my tubes tied and all that stuff, and I heard, no, you'll have one more and it'll be a girl. And then fast forward a few years, I actually decided, well, I'm going to go and get my tubes tied. And I hadn't had this other kid. And then I couldn't because I was pregnant. And
Darn universe.
universe. And then I was like, okay, it's going to be a girl. So it was a very interesting pregnancy. And I got her name from 3 dreams. I saw her name and in 3 dreams, the first name in the first one, and the first and middle name in the second and third one. But after I had her and I was able to get the tubal ligation, I went in and they had said that I was the only tubal ligation that day. So I was prepped and brought in. Everything was going super fast and, it was going to be in and out. And then I was wheeled into the surgery room and they started giving me the medication, the anesthesia. And I saw my mantis being. So there's been a few times that I saw it was like this white gold mantis being. And he was always related to medical. So I always kind of called him the doctor.
Yeah.
And I saw him and I said, what are you doing here? Obviously telepathically. And they're very interesting and they don't say much and they don't divulge much. And it's kind of like on an as needed basis, right?
You don't need to know. Yeah.
It's like, I'm a scientist, so it's all the chemists and scientists out there will know what I'm talking about when I say, if you're talking to the FDA, it's that kind of talk.
Right.
Oh, I've had to deal with them before, but food related.
Right.
Answer the question and
You answer the question. It's like Border Patrol. You don't give them anything more than they ask for.
No more.
No.
So when I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm here to protect you. And I said, protect me from what? And then I was out.
3 seconds.
You'll see.
And then and I don't remember anything happening at that point. And then when I came to, I was lying on the gurney and I was like paralyzed. So I didn't have any movement. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't say anything. And all I could do was hear. So it looked like I was still out, but I could hear everything that was happening. Mm-hmm. And there was a presence behind me on my left. So there was a nurse that was standing over there, and another nurse was walking towards us from my right. And she obviously was looking at the nurse that was standing right behind me on my left. And she said, what the heck happened in there? And the other nurse goes, oh my God, it was, she said, difficult ligation. There was blood everywhere. And I was like, now I'm in my head saying, are they talking about me or are they talking about somebody else? And then I remembered being told I was the only ligation that morning, tubal ligation. And then I was like, they're talking about me. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, go on. Tell me more. What is happening? Right. And then that is the exact moment that all senses came rushing to. I opened my eyes. I started coughing because of that scratchiness of the tube that they pull out of you. Mm-hmm. And then I had a sensation down my whole entire left side. And it was so painful that I just went, and I grabbed at my leg because it hurt so bad. And so that nurse that was on my left came up attentively and said, are you okay? You're in pain? And I'm like, yeah, why does my leg hurt so bad? And she said, oh, it was probably the position that the doctor had you in. And she probably wasn't ready for me to have much wits to me. But I said, what do you mean position? It's a tubal ligation. It's laparoscopic surgery. I shouldn't have been in any position but lying down. Right? And then she said, oh, you're in pain. And she just pumped me with some morphine. And I was like, now I'm out of it.
Now I'm high. Thanks.
I was like,
Yeah.
don't ask questions.
Yeah,
Don't
no,
ask
for
questions.
sure.
I
For sure.
never got that answered. What actually
They
happened
don't
to me.
always take you so seriously when you're waking up from surgery either. They don't know if you do really have your wits or if you're just spewing stuff. Yeah. That's scary though. It's scary to be in a hospital and rely on strangers to make sure that you come out alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh.
There's a reason you sign all that paperwork.
Yep. Definitely. And the last one that I had was in June of this year. And that one was wild because there were about 7 people involved in a shared NDE.
Wow. Okay. Those are fascinating.
You're all under at the same time?
Well, it was. So I'm going to say, well, I'll just tell the story.
Of course.
Because
Okay,
then
please
they'll
do.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
If that's okay. Yeah,
Of
we have
course.
time.
No, it's your show. Go.
Yeah.
Stage is yours.
We'll ask the audience out there. Do you want to hear me?
Oh, they're loving you right now.
They're hanging in.
Lots of love there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is wild because there's so much stuff, like all that aftermath. There's so much that keeps unfolding and happening. And I don't know, I might light up a little bit more because it's so curious. All right, let me take you back. I ended up having a gallbladder removal surgery scheduled because I had a gallbladder attack. And then it was like, okay, did the MRI and the ultrasound and all that stuff. And they're like, yeah, this thing needs to come out. So they scheduled me. And there's so many synchronicities along the way, like after the fact. But when we look at, I was scheduled for June 22nd. And so I went in and they said, oh, you'll be in and out of here pretty quickly. It'll be like 3 hours between, once you're prepped and your release. So I went in about 7 a.m. and I'll back up just a little bit because I went in and I had previously, for 7 to 10 days before this surgery, known that I was going to have the decision to make whether to come back or not. And I couldn't tell anyone. And I couldn't act any differently. Because if I did, if I told anyone, I would be co-creating with whomever's fears of me not coming back. Of which I would have to battle to come back if I wanted to come back. So I didn't tell anyone, knowing that I know how people work. This is the work that I do. I know how people ruminate over their fears, and I know how powerful subconscious is. So if I told one person that thought, oh my God, she's not going to come back, now we're dueling for creating. Right?
Right.
So I would hand over the power of full on creating my reality with somebody else and co-creating that reality with them. Even to the point where when I left, I thought, oh, maybe I'll just, hug my daughter just a little bit harder. And I was like, no, you're just going to go in there and you're going to do the usual hug, which is like a nice, good hug, but I'm not going to hold on like something's happening. So it was kind of like a, hey, love you, bye, I'll see you in a few hours kind of thing. And, mom's going to be a little out of it. And when I left, went to the hospital, got all prepped up. And I was sitting there, I could feel that weird sensation again, that surreal energy, like static energy or whatever you want to call it. There was just that surreal energy. And my aunt was with me and I could feel her. And she had done some things that she doesn't usually do or said some things that she doesn't usually say. And I knew that she was thinking, what if she doesn't come back? When I got wheeled into the surgery room, I noticed that the clock was changing from 9:42 to 9:43 a.m. So I was like, okay, I'll be out of here, 1 o'clock, something like that. Go home. I'll be nice and calm. So they wheeled me over, and I'm sitting there, and they said, oh, we need to adjust the robot arms on the surgery table. So hang out here for a couple minutes while we do that. So they're doing that, and I immediately went into this trance state. And that was apparently the point where I made my decision, because I telepathically communicated or sent to my friend, remember these words. You have to come back. I have to come back, right? Remember these words. I have to come back. I have a lot of work left to do here. I have to come back. And that was that. And then I was like, okay, there we go. And now they're moving me over, and they're prepping me to knock me out. When they knocked me out, it was very different from the other thing where I was out and then don't remember anything happening and just woke up. I remember coming out of my body and going immediately into like another space. And it was like dominoes. I visited so many people, all the people that somehow were thinking, I wonder if she's going to come back. And they never said anything to me, and I never said anything to them before my surgery. But these were people that were very close to me. 6 people that were close to me that I was like, no, everything's going to be okay kind of thing. And there was just like a visit. And that's all I remember with that.
Right.
So it wasn't like with my kids and sitting down, having this whole full-on conversation. It was rapid. And then, and including the person that I had contacted to that said, you need to get back there. So that person, I'm gonna Quentin Tarantino this a little bit. So
right, do it.
so staying with that piece of the story.
Yes.
That friend had contacted me when I got home, and when I talked to her, I was still out of it. And she had said, I don't know what you were doing at exactly 10:08. But this is what happened to me. She said, I was driving. I felt your presence in my car. I looked over at my passenger seat and said, hello, Nicole. What are you doing here? And I had this feeling that you were trying to decide if you were going to stay out there or if you were going to come back. So I said, you get back there. You have so much work left to do. You better get your ass back there.
That's your message. Yeah.
Right. And
Yes.
I was so out of it. I said, I can't talk to you right now. We have to talk about this tomorrow. I can't believe you're saying the same exact words that I said to you. And she's like, what? I go, it's not going to make any sense. And I can't move my mouth enough to tell you the whole story. And I'm so out of it. I can't even keep a train of thought. So we kind of did a little talk and then let that go. So now I'll pop back over to that happened with her. And then I was also in this big, huge light burst of energy. And there were all these downloads that were coming. And it was, when I tell the story, it's kind of like if I hold a picture book and I flash through them. And you can pick out pieces of the pictures. You could blurriness stuff, but it's all in there. And whatever you've picked out, you can hold on to. If you saw a red building or, a piece of gold or a cat or a dog or whatever in those picture books, you have a piece of it, but you don't have the full picture. And that's what the downloads were. I had certain things that one of the downloads pieces that I pulled out was November to February. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And it didn't matter. I just knew that there was going to be an intense time. There was a lot of stuff. It was going to be very meaningful. There was a lot of shifting, all that stuff. But to what extent, I don't know, until November hit. And I was like, oh, this is what November to February looks like. I get it. Okay. And not just for me, but also for the collective. So there was like a twofold piece. And then all this download stuff. And there was this point where I was like, I came back for you. I came back for you. And me saying that to someone because I was connected with a soul from a past life. And this was a very specific energy that I felt because all through my life, I feel like, where is this person? Where is this person? Where is this energy? And no one I've met has been that person or had that energy. And that even like certain flavors of it would show up. And I'd be like, is this the person? And then it would quickly show me, no, not at all. And so
Are you still waiting for that person?
No, because I'm getting to that point.
Okay. I had to ask. I couldn't wait, but you can fill us in.
Your dad, Michelle.
I can't help it. I'm a kid. I'm a big kid.
That was an Oprah moment, Michelle.
I was really connected with that person. But that whole thing, if I came back for you, I came back for you. I have a past life memory that is very, very specific. And what ended up happening was I was trying to get back into my body. And I came in and I'd open my eyes and I'd see the nurse in front of me. And the nurse was saying, Nicole, I need you to take a deep breath for me right now. And then I would go, okay. And I do this super shallow, barely breathing in thing. And then once I had that little tiny puff of a breath in, it was, oh yeah, I wasn't breathing. And then I let it out and then I'd go back out again. And I'd come back and I'd open my eyes and the nurse is saying, Nicole, I need you to take a deep breath for me right now. And then I'd take the little puff of breath in, say the same thing. And this happened 7 times.
Wow.
And I was like, on the last couple times, I was really trying, like consciously, because I saw this concern on the nurse's face, and like there was just a lot of stuff that was going on, and I just kept going way out and coming back in, and going way back out and coming back in. Now, I got out of there way later than what I should have. It was like somewhere like between 3 and 3:30 or something like that. And I remembered the nurse saying, you've been here way longer than anyone else who has gotten this done. And I was like, I'm weird. Okay, sorry. You know what?
Right.
Can't help it. And then I'll fast forward again. That I was there were some life shifts that happened immediately following the surgery. And then I had a few weeks later, I had a friend that had contacted me and was, trying to hook me up with a friend of his. And I'm like, yeah, no.
You got a little bit of Canadian in you. Yeah, no, and no. Yeah, no. That's very Canadian.
Yeah, no. No, yeah.
Yeah, it's very Canadian. We talk like that all the time. It confuses tourists, but anyways. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I was, convinced to go out, and I was like, yeah, all right, I haven't met your new girlfriend yet, so I'll do that. We'll just go out and have a good time. I could use to get out of the house and all of that. And so meanwhile, he's like trying to do the same thing on the opposite side. And the same thing was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. But we ended up all going out and having a great time, hitting it off. And then, so meeting up with this person, I developed this friendship with this person, and then in a relationship with this person. And it was that person, who is now my boyfriend, had a near-death experience at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So when I was going in and out and in and out,
right,
that was, he said, you saved my life. Like, you know, he was like, somebody was helping me get back. And the whole story has to be put together and
right.
like really put together. But there's so much stuff that there's so many synchronicities along the way. And he also has had the same visions about the past life that I never said to him. And
I was going to say, it sounds like, you know, a past life thing. It sounds like your souls have connected. You're part of the same soul circle.
More twin flame like than anything. Yeah.
It was so weird because in our conversations, because we have these long, deep conversations and just talk about all kinds of stuff. And we were talking about different things where we were at certain times and, you know, places and where we worked. And we have crossed paths or been at same events in the same, like, close sections of each other that we probably have walked by each other who knows how many times.
Right.
But like, we counted, there had to have been at least a dozen times, and then we worked right near each other for a period of time as well, and went to eat at the same places for lunch and stuff like that we had to have, but neither one of us has any memory or any connected
Maybe
thought.
it was from the other dimension that you started out in.
Maybe it was.
You know, which is why your memories are so scattered.
Maybe. And it's such a cool thing because there's so much stuff that just keeps unfolding.
Well, I don't believe in coincidence. I always say it. I'm a big believer in synchronicities.
Yeah.
It sounds like you go through a lot of that, you know. So do you want to do the station ID early, and then we'll go from the next.
Yeah, that is so funny.
Because I don't want to interrupt once we get started.
Right? Yeah. No problem. We'll do that right now. Yeah, absolutely. Let me just remember where I am. I'm not used to being on this early.
Just imagining you in, Amelia.
I can only focus on one at a time. I'm too scattered for that. Sorry. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 105.3 and 107.7 FM radio, as well as the Roku channel. Our special guest tonight and first time, and probably won't be the last, is Nicole Majik, and she's discussing all the experience throughout her life, especially the big NDE and how her life changed from there. So we're talking about empowerment and high strangeness and a little bit of ET in there too. If you're just tuning in, no worries. You can stream our archives on any platform that you normally use. Remember to click like and subscribe and share with your friends so you never miss an episode. Just start by searching United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm with Michelle and Amelia, and you'll find us right there. Tonight and every night, we have to give thanks to the wonderful people at Folgers Coffee. Your continued support from day one and heading into our 400th episode because of you. Thank you so much. We deeply appreciate you, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Our fabulous banner and promo media is thank you to Steve McGinnis. He's a horror illustrator. He's a fantastic artist. Not only horror, but he creates commission pieces as well, and you can find him on social media, Facebook, Instagram. You know the drill. Loving our intro and outro. We get the outro out there when we can. Sometimes we go right to the end of the show with our guests, but you can listen to it on Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, Justin Snicker, award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon, and Bandcamp. Stream on any platform. Find him on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, he drops the clips, the little videos that go with the music. They're so cool. He is so artistic. you can even, and I say this every time because I want to make sure people are finding him in your stories. You can search Dr. Snick and use his music when you're creating your stories on social media. So if you're watching us right now through Facebook on any of our group pages or on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and give us a like. Help us expand our audience there. We're very large audio. We would love your assistance with YouTube. Thank you so much.
And
Don't
for
forget
those
to
of you
share.
listening on FM and all of our audio servers, please go check us out on any of our audio archives. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. All right. So where do you want to take us from here? You've gone through all of this. You now seem to have found your life partner. So where does Nicole go after this?
Wherever Nicole wants to go, I guess.
Well, obviously you've decided to put this through in helping other people. You've had this epiphany, you've these downloads. It's like we've slapped you where you need to be. Now you've got to do something majestic with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I utilize a lot of the experiences that I have, the intuitive gifts that I have as well, and my science background and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and all of these different techniques and experiences and gifts, and I put them all together into the Alchemy of Transformation, which is basically my program that I help people go from resistance to resilience by overcoming their limiting beliefs and turning them into positive ones that work for them exponentially instead of being self-sabotaging with those negative limiting beliefs. And really stepping into that space, because a lot of people, when they teach, whether it's manifestation or mental toughness or mental strength or mindset work, there's a lot of talk around it versus bringing you through the experience so that you experience it at the different phases and the different levels that you can experience it at, which actually makes it work. So it's kind of like when people say, here's an affirmation, this affirmation, it's going to change your mind, it's going to change your life. Well, it's only going to change your life if you have beliefs that support it. And it supports those beliefs, because whatever beliefs that you have are the beliefs that you have. And an affirmation isn't going to change your belief, but an affirmation is going to amplify your belief, whether you believe that affirmation or not. So if you don't truly believe that affirmation and say, oh, I deserve success, if you think that you're lesser than and you don't deserve success, you're only going to reaffirm that you don't deserve success.
That's because of conditioning. It's hard to get into manifestation and changing your mindset when you've been conditioned your whole life to be a certain way, right? Or,
Right.
Circumstances or just academics, whatever the case may be.
Well,
Right.
people are conditioned even in adulthood, because you find that in prisoners, ex-convicts, when they come out, are so conditioned to be told to sit, to stand, how they sit, how long they sit, yes sir, no sir, and they continue that way because they're stuck in that even years later. But I think also the big one is thoughts. It's not just what you're speaking, but your thoughts will create you.
And your thoughts are what forms what you're speaking. So you think something and then you speak it, and now you're creating it.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly it.
Spellcasting, right?
Yeah.
Spelling,
Everything is
spellcasting.
energy, vibration, and frequency.
Exactly.
So that's it.
100% vibration frequency. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Nikola Tesla.
No, it's true. Somebody who gets it. Yes. Yes.
And that's exactly it. And that's what I bring into what I practice and how I work with my clients, because everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. We cannot cookie cutter your beliefs either. So we could have 50 or 100 or 2,000 people in a room who all have some belief related to I am not worthy. And every single person is going to have their own vibrational flavor of that. So that's what I help people do. In order to get rid of it permanently, you've got to hone in on what that vibration is, because, and ask any of my clients will sit there and we'll work on it. And I peel back the layers and I'm asking them questions so I can find out what their subconscious is actually saying.
It's like an onion, right? You just have to get to the middle, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, some of the things that we say when you're asked a question, you're like, why did I say that? It's like, that's because it goes back to the things that you believe. So it's super interesting. And I love doing the work because I'll say something sometimes and say, oh, where did that come from? I've got some work to do right there because that was weird. And when we look at it and we find and hone in on that vibrational frequency of the negative limiting belief, it feels like putrid stuff in your stomach. So it does. It feels like a punch in the gut.
Yeah.
We'll get really close and it'll be like, yeah, that's it. That's it. And I say, no, that's not exactly it. And then I'll tweak some things and then I'll say, okay, here, say this. And then they'll say it and they'll be like, oh, yeah.
That's really it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you
deep.
can see it. And I'm like, what does it feel like? Where is it? And all of that stuff. And then when we change it, it's the most beautiful thing, going from this thing that sits like a lead putrefied block of nasty, and then turn it into something that's most beautiful. And then, they come back to me 24 hours, 48 hours, a week later and be like, you are never going to believe what happened. And I'll be like, hit me, let's have it, because that's how the magic happens. You turn it around and it's permanently removed. All that assigned meaning that you gave something before, you understand why you did it. And now it's meaningless because it's what you're creating now.
Right. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I think that's half the battle is believing it and believing in yourself to be able to do it. Changing mindset is really, really hard because it's like I always, I remember going to a chiropractor, for example, a chiropractor saying, look, your body is conditioned. It feels comfortable in this position. I have to straighten it out. It will keep kicking back, but it will slowly start feeling better as, you're feeling upright, as you're doing what it's supposed to do. And it takes a period of time. So changing mindset, to me is similar. You have to keep reinforcing and reaffirming. And after a while, it becomes like a second nature. Do you find that when you're working with people, it's really hard to get them to just stick to what you're trying to show them? Or do they just kind of fall into it?
I have, with my system, I have a unique way of tackling things from multiple angles at the same time. So it happens much more rapidly than doing it that way. A lot of times people will try to change a behavior. The whole chiropractor thing, yes, there is a certain element of that. So yeah, there are different phases that I'll teach people about, that this is what you can expect.
So it feels natural. Right.
Because you have to build an awareness of when you're doing something to be able to change it, while we're working on what are the beliefs that are causing certain things. So I start with the biggest, baddest belief that you have. So I work towards giving you an assessment, like going through a whole mind map and discovery process and uncover where the blind spots are. Then I take the biggest one and say, okay, we're going to tackle this, knowing that we have these sprinkles of these other ones there. So then I look at those other ones, and while we're honing in on to remove the big one, here are some things that are going to happen with these smaller ones. And how to build the awareness around that, because we don't wave a magic wand and poof, everybody's perfect, right? It's a process. So as we're tackling it from multiple angles, it makes this work super rapid. My clients I've had somebody come to me and just my Empower package say, hey, I can't believe this one session out of this thing. I am now, what did she say? In 1 week, I've done more than I have in the last year and a half or something like that.
And it's because she was ready to follow your guidance.
Yes.
You know,
and I say that a lot.
Ready.
When you're ready, you're ready. And when you're not, you're just not. So,
Right.
Oh, it's honest and true. Yeah.
If you're ready, it can happen super fast. But not in the way that you're going to feel overwhelmed. It's actually going to take away the overwhelm that you feel. Right. And that's where people trick themselves. They think, oh my God, my life is going to change so much and it's going to be even harder. No, that's what your limiting belief wants you to think, because you're afraid of what is going to happen.
Right.
But if you're aligning yourself, everything gets easier.
That's the key, though. The words, the wording.
Yes.
The minute you put work instead of alignment, it changes the perspective and it slows them down, I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're conditioned to believe work is like, ugh, right? So,
four-letter word.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hard. As soon as you throw the word work in there.
It's like, ugh.
I have to work for this? I mean,
I wish Byron Katie would change that, the work. I'm like, stop it. The journey would be nice.
It is a journey.
Yeah.
There is a commitment. There definitely is a commitment. It's a commitment to yourself and a commitment to awareness and learning more about yourself at a deeper level. Because once you learn more about yourself at deep levels, you understand why everybody else is the way that they are, and the stuff that somebody says or does or whatever doesn't affect you anymore. You're not afraid of people's judgment when you know who you are.
Yeah. Right. And you can get to that before you hit 60.
Yes.
Yeah, because we do that with age, but wouldn't it be nice to have that in your youth so you can live fuller, not to care?
Yes. That's why I love doing some of these after school programs with kids, because there's a lot of empowerment to it, and bringing these kids into a space where they can fully be empowered and really tap into that stuff at a young age. What an experience that is when kids start to get it, and they get it pretty fast.
Right. That's really the best place to start, because they're little sponges and they're very easy to mold as well, to get them to accept the change. I mean, adults, you're so set in your ways. It's really difficult for some people to accept that change, especially if it does require practice and attention. And, some people find it very hard to work at themselves.
Yeah, because they don't know themselves. And I think some are afraid to find out something about themselves that they don't want to see. But there's no judgment here.
So you're making them face the fears, face the things they don't like about themselves, is essentially what you're doing. And
it's not scary, though.
Yeah, it does. It sounds terrifying.
It's not that scary. It's more of when I take them through, we have a conversation. It feels more like a conversation. And then I show them a few things that, do you realize that this is connected to that? And that what you say here actually has this effect over here. And it's more of an enlightening, because a lot of people will sit there and they'll, oh my God, I never connected that before, but that makes so much sense. So people walk away very excited and uplifted, knowing, oh my God, I didn't put those two and two together, because they didn't make any sense. And they don't, because if you look at them separately, they're very disconnected. But if you look at them with the sequence of how things have happened and the beliefs that they have, so that's what I'm looking for when I'm doing the mind map with them, is these little like domino effect things that this goes to this goes to this, and then now we're here. Oh,
right. So you're connecting some dots that they probably didn't even know they had.
It brings tremendous amounts of clarity. Right. And with that clarity, we can then define what they actually want and then align it. And once we start aligning it, we know how to create the action plan that they need. So that those are the steps that I bring people through.
Right.
Cool.
So go ahead, Amelia.
No, I said cool.
Oh. So what happens if somebody's got some really, deep rooted things that they just can't sort through? Because, it's almost like going through hypnosis, like through a past life regression or an alien abduction contactee thing. They say like, well, once you open that door, you may not like what you see. It's like a double-edged sword. So once you're opening that door, have you come across somebody who's just cannot do it? They don't want to face anything. Can you still work with somebody like that?
I would say in thinking through people that I work with, I'm looking for people who are ready to go. So I have ways to figure out, are you ready for this?
Right.
And then once I understand that they are ready, because some people, there's this little pendulum that some people swing on, and they hit a spot where they're uncomfortable and in a negative way. So maybe it's finances. That's an easy one to pick on, is you hit a space, finances are tight, you're getting upset and frustrated and scarcity mode and all of that, and you want to change something, and then you start to take steps towards changing something, and then things shift a little bit, and maybe some things happen, you get a little bit more comfortable, and then you say, oh no, I'm fine, and then I don't really need that help, and until we swing back again and you're in that space. So there is that, almost that victim, villain, hero mode that people tend to swirl around in. They're not ready yet.
Right.
You start to do a little bit of the work. So here's where you open the door. You start to do a little bit of work, and then you start seeing that things are happening, things are shifting. And most people do a lot of the conscious work, and that's where they start, because that's how you can shift. You're doing a lot of the conscious work, and then you get to the point where, oh yeah, I got this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing great, and then all of a sudden you get to this either a plateau or you hit a wall, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, why is this coming back up again and again and again and again? Right. And that's because it's so subconscious. You don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know what those blind spots are, because it's so deep rooted. And then, yes, once you're ready, because you're like, okay, I can't figure this thing out. You're not meant to figure it out because it's so subconscious that you can't do conscious work on the subconscious when you need to let your subconscious talk. Mm-hmm. You can't analyze it. I don't even do that. I'll uncover something, and then I go to one of my friends, one of people that I work with, and say, okay, this is what I uncovered. You do your magic. I'm going to do mine. We're going to go deep dive. And whether it's a conversation or it's intuitive massage work or body work or whatever it is, it gets done.
Right.
And so I don't linger there.
Right. When
you start doing that work, it is that door. It opens it up, and you get more and more curious. It becomes easier and easier to do. And it's actually, when something negative happens, you actually kind of chuckle about it and be like, okay, we're taking care of this right now.
I got it. Right.
Right. I know what's happening. So you understand the process, and you stay in the flow.
It's how you speak to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like being fit. It's really hard to get there, but once you're there, it's easier to stay there.
And it's easy to get there if you just change your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
It takes a little bit of effort. I won't use the W word, but yeah, it definitely takes effort.
Commitment.
Yeah.
Use that word.
Perspective, commitment, and
action.
I feel like, yes, thank you. I feel like you need to put yourself first, and we're so conditioned to believe that it's selfish. As mothers, us first is very frowned upon.
Yeah.
But if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our families and our loved ones.
Yep.
So how hard is manifesting your own reality? Coming from somebody who comes from a different reality. Nicole, not calling anybody out or anything. So,
I don't know.
yeah.
That's a loaded question because it's as hard as you make it. Really.
Oh, right.
It's as hard as you make it. If you sit there and you ruminate, how quickly can you get out of a negative thought process?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll say this. If I go through an emotional space, if an emotional rise comes up, I can move through it super fast. Because our emotions, especially negative ones, right? Our negative emotions, we should be able to move through and process through our emotions in 90 seconds or less. Let that one sink in. So even like sadness and all of that stuff, if something happens, a lot of people will go in a room and cry for hours. 90 seconds or less. And it actually looks a little weird when you get to that place. I've consciously observed myself go through deep sadness emotion in less than a minute. And it almost looks like when you watch a kid with crocodile tears, if anybody knows that saying.
Right.
There's some adults with crocodile tears.
Something happens.
Yeah.
You get like a lone tear or two, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're good. And it's not stuffing it down. It's actually processing it all the way through.
Picking yourself back up.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens super fast, even very strong positive emotions too, because if you think about really negative emotions, and then on the opposite spectrum, it's really positive. So you put those two together, it's manic and depressive, right? We're really meant to stay in that center space.
Right.
And that being in that space helps you to navigate life in that space continuously. So you have a good head on your shoulders, good focus, good flow, and you're not swinging on that pendulum from, yeah, this is great, woo, to, oh my God, this sucks so bad.
It's like a roller coaster ride. Yeah.
Yeah. If you stay in the middle, everything is awesome.
Right. Right.
All of the time.
Right.
And everything is good, and everything will be good, and everything's going to be okay because everything already is okay. If you understand what it's all about. So how easy is it to manifest? Get in that space and watch how easy it is to manifest. If you dwell on all the BS, guess what? You're going to pile more of that on. And then when you have the swinging of the pendulum up there, you're going to get hit with the opposite end. So why not stay somewhere in the middle? And
watch how you project, because what you project out, you attract.
Absolutely. That is all what it's about. Your beliefs are your beliefs. And then your beliefs have these little trigger moments where something happens and then you have a thought and a feeling. That thought and the feeling are the mediators between the belief and your behavior. So depending on how strong that emotional sensation is, depends on how strong you're going to think about something. And that depends on what erratic behavior possibly, or,
right.
how strong that behavior is going to be,
Right.
which
Right.
brings the outcomes. So
Right.
really check what your emotion is and what your thought is.
Right. Here's a comment from Alex, which is
Alex
a big
says,
problem. Yeah.
yeah, it's easy to be self-deprecating. That's a problem for people's advancement. Absolutely. 80% of the people are self-deprecating. That's why when you see people really high on top, people who are trying to achieve that but are not moving forward will say, oh, they're so lucky. There is nothing. For me, there's no such thing as luck. It's about drive and getting there.
Yep. There's no such thing as luck. There's synchronicity.
Yeah, there should be nothing stopping you to be what you want to be.
You're creating exactly what you believe.
Yeah.
Always.
Right. Right.
It's like people, my girlfriends who date the same guy over and over. I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like you're creating this. You're telling yourself you're not worthy of more than this, and that's why there's problems.
Right.
It's true. You beat yourself up and you end up in worse situations with people who completely don't jive with your frequency, and you don't know enough to go in and attract a better frequency or connect with people who are on your same level, because you have to be. That's how things work.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a great method for that.
Okay. Everybody, your link's in the comments here. So I put it across all the platforms.
And it's super funny when I go through that method with people, because they think that I'll ask for, write certain things out. And then when I read them, I say, you realize you are asking for a crazy person, right? Like you're asking for a narcissist over here.
Create a vision board and look what you're looking at. My daughter is 26 and she still creates vision boards, and she's got two businesses under her belt. Yeah, she's always done it and she still does. Although the Leonardo DiCaprio thing ain't gonna happen, but and I'm glad. Although she's too old for him now because she's 26. But I think that's very important. I actually forced her to read The Secret when she was about 15, 16. And she's followed that,
nice.
And at 21, she was the youngest PR athlete agent in the industry. So it's important. It really does. It really changes. If you're out there and you're listening, take a look at Nicole's website. This could be the synchronicity, the sign that you need to better your life. And always tell yourself, I am worthy of so much more. There's nothing you can't do.
100%.
Yeah. Or my dad's favorite. Why not?
Why not?
My father would always say, why not? Why can't you? Why not? If I say I can't do that, why not?
How great can it get?
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. So before we get to the last bit, what have you taken away from all of this? What's the thing that sticks with you the most? Is there anything you would change, or what's the thing?
I'm going to say I wouldn't want to change anything, because all of where I'm at, I love where I am and I love where I'm going, wherever that is.
Beautiful.
Because I get to choose all those steps along the way. And I've met some awesome, amazing people, yourselves included.
Thank you.
And just
thank you.
The people, what you are doing and our connection here and getting certain messages out to people, it connects with the right people. Those people end up connecting with me. And then, through other podcasts that the same thing has happened. I have met some absolutely amazing people that have been in some great places, some really weird places, some really not so great places. And even one session has been a change in their life, that I've received message after message after message after message, and email and all these little things saying how much their lives have changed just from a small tweak, a technique, a little of this and a little of that, and just, a little bit of magic.
It's a wild ride, isn't it?
You want to get to that point in life where you have no regrets because you know that everything happened for a reason and you're grateful for even the bad things, and you should thank those people out loud in your own space. Gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah. The regrets are all about the past. That's all done.
Can't change it.
That's a waste of time to regret. And then worrying is all about the future. So if you get to create that future, what is there to worry about? If you live presently in each moment and you consciously decide what you are going to do next, you are always going to create something in alignment with what you want, what you believe. So if you are being present and making aligned decisions, so that's the key. If you are present and you make aligned decisions for who you are and where you want to go, you will always be creating something positive.
And in order to do that, you have to be a participant in your own life.
There's something to say for that 5-year plan. Doesn't have to be 5 years, but the whole process of it, there's a reason why people do it and they're successul.
Yeah.
They're choosing.
Why don't you chime off your website for the audio audience? And all the links are on all of the chat rooms, and of course all the show descriptions have all of your links.
Okay,
so
thanks.
It's all in there. Yes. So, but for the audio listeners, what do you have coming up? What do you want to promote? And get your website out, please.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Everybody out there, you can find me it's just like my last name, Majik, Majik. So it's www.magicllc.com, or you can find my marketplace at NicoleMajik.com. And you could always email me. And again, it's magic@magicllc.com. So if you take my beliefs quiz, that's a great place to start, because you'll get emails that kind of unlock each belief that I go over in that quiz, so that you can help to start transitioning, and you can set up a little free discovery call with me if you like. I can show you some value and what direction to go if you're not sure where you should turn or what options you have for yourself. That's really it.
I love it. I love it. It was such a pleasure having you on. And thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. And I hope you have a terrific upcoming holiday and an awesome, prosperous, productive new year. Try to stay in this time zone, or try to stay in this dimension.
But if you happen to skip out, contact us.
Yeah. Find a way.
We'll help you back in.
Find a way.
Yeah. I'll be like, Michelle.
We'll help you back in.
Exactly.
I'll knock over your alien.
Exactly.
Oh, don't do that. I made that.
I realized you're actually an hour ahead of us too, aren't you? Because when I sent you the email, I forgot to put Eastern. It's been one of those days.
Oh, wow. It's midnight for you. It's already Friday for her. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Lucky you. You're already there.
One more hour. More hour.
There we go. So thank you. And I will be in touch with links and so on.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, guys, the end of another fantastic segment. As promised, we delivered an amazing guest. So really, really happy to have her join us for the very first time. Nicole Majik, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Thank you to everybody in the chat room. You guys make it so much more exciting. Didn't get to a lot of comments and such, but the guests can see them and are always welcome, to jump off anytime and comment. Her links are in the chat room. Link to the website. So please check it out if you do want to contact her and drop her a line, get more information, that sort of thing. So big thank you to her. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring the show. Big thank you to Justice Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon. Big thank you to Steve McGinnis. And coming up next week, see, I can say it now, next week, because I'm where I'm supposed to be in my mind. So we have another first-time guest, and that is James Shubsky. I love this. I can't even wait for this.
I love his name.
He's a former volunteer search and rescue EMT, wildland firefighter, and mountain guide, and we'll be discussing the wide array of paranormal activity in the Columbia River Gorge, including the kitty cat, ape cat. Click clack, click click clickety clack. Oh my god, I can't even say it.
She wants chocolate.
Sasquatch, UFOs, portals, and small humanoids. This place has it all, and he's definitely going to be sharing it with us. Now, Thursday night, we welcome the return of our friend Daryl Walsh, who's going to be discussing Victorian Christmas traditions and so on. But here's the best part: he's going to do some Victorian Christmas storytelling. So we're going to take a step back in time, and we are going to have a whole boatload of laid back fun and do it like they used to do it.
Maybe a Krampus or two.
Oh, right? He can be kind of Krampusy, I think, but that's why we love him. So everybody have a fantastic weekend, and we shall see you all next week. Behave, be safe out there. People are getting crazy just before Christmas, so be careful. Good night. See you next week.